Hey, what's going on, everyone? Chris back finally with another video after a long kind of break I kind of almost had just because just busy with life, school, work. So I wanted to come and give you all a kind of just a week and a half, almost 2 weeks kind of thoughts on the Sony XZ1. I've been using this as my daily driver, and I thought it was definitely time after using it solely during this whole period. Thought I wanted to give you guys my honest opinion and feedback on this. This is not my full review. I still want to give this some time until I really kind of get a better feel of it, and not to mention if there's any updates that come out on this, then I'll be able to kind of do a revisited or revised review at that point. So let's go ahead and dig into the Sony Xperia Z1 and how it's been good to me during this period of time. So we have the Sony Xperia XZ1 here. Really been enjoying this, and like I mentioned, been using this for about 2 weeks now, and I've really enjoyed the overall feel, design, and just the performance of this device. Very thin, easy to use in one hand. The metal feels very premium, and like I said in my unboxing, this is just a very elegant, professional looking type device, especially if you were to get the black one, in my opinion. Fingerprint scanner is extremely fast. Using it with multiple different fingers that I have here, this thumb, because that way if it's like on my desk and I'm typing on something on my computer, I can just quickly unlock and check my phone that way. Because of my injury in my finger, I'm not using my phone that much with my right hand, so I'm using a lot of my left hand and my index, and very reliable. Only times it does fail is if my finger is a little bit oily or greasy or something like that. It does misread once, but I think that's normal for all phones and from what I've experienced with devices. I am using the Pixel 2 launcher here. As you can see, the Google search bar is at the bottom, and as you already know, this is running Android Oreo 8.0. There hasn't been an update yet to this ever since I unboxed it. This has already been out for a while, but it is actually only running the August security patch, which is unfortunate. Hopefully there's an update here in the next couple days for it, since I have seen different variants for firmwares for other regions coming out that have a slightly newer build number. So I may flash that. I may do a guide here in just a couple days, so stay tuned for that on how to flash a different ROM, or a different firmware I should say, onto your XZ1. Still, overall, the performance is great since day one. Sony devices, the overall skin of Android is very light. They don't put too much overhaul additions and things like that. It's a very close to stock Android, I would say. Battery life has been pretty decent. As we can see here, it is about 5 p.m. I've been off the charger for about 13 hours now, getting around 2 hours screen on time. So kind of equates to about 4.5 hours of screen on time of my usage. Your mileage may vary. This is with battery saving GPS on and Bluetooth NFC on all the time. I don't turn that off for smartwatches and just location access, things like that. So I've really enjoyed it. The speakers are really great actually on here. I listen to a lot of podcasts, YouTube, things like that, and we can see right away that the speaker quality, as far as loudness and clarity, is overall really great. So I'm very happy with the speakers. They improved the speaker output about 50% over all the previous version, and still being able to not affect the form size of the phone itself. day-to-day usability, very fast, no complaints whatsoever. Switches between apps very quickly, and I can't have any complaints in that regard. Everything just launches very quick and very smooth. The screen during daylight usability is good. I wish it would maybe just a tad bit brighter, but overall it is actually very easy to read. That's max brightness and dim. At night, I wish it got just maybe a little bit more dim, so that way it wasn't so shocking when you turn on the screen at night. But I am glad that Sony did not touch the status bar, the quick toggles, things like that, in Android 8.0 Oreo, just because it makes it a lot more pleasant on the eyes. Instead of when you're trying to change the brightness at night, you're not getting this huge bright white, gray quick toggles section there. Camera has been very good, actually. It's definitely been an improvement over previous models as Sony improves the post-processing and things like that. The full manual mode has always been a joy to use, also having full access to your ISO, your f-stop, your exposure, things like that. And that's nice to have. Focus, because you're able to really dial in some nicer pictures than what the superior auto mode gives you, which I know a lot of other flagships, maybe the Pixel, things like that, they don't have the manual mode, so it's nice to see that Sony still has that. The 960 frames a second recording isn't that big of a deal for me. I haven't actually really used it too much, to be honest. I haven't really been in situations to where I feel like that's something that I'm going to be able to use or anything like that. But it's definitely nice to have if you want to capture a unique moment and give that the extra artistic flair per se. Now there's no optical image stabilization, so night shots are a little bit more grainy because you don't have the additional stability, things like that. Something I've also noticed is that the exposure is pretty much limited to just 1 second. So I wish they would have had a longer exposure, such as 3 seconds. That would give you a little bit more flexibility at night. Of course, you would need to make sure this is propped on a tripod, for that way you're not going to get any blurriness or anything like that. One thing that I've yet to even use on this phone, and that is the 3D scanning creator type app. Basically, you can scan in objects, people's faces, things like that. We'll try it out actually here real quick. So we got a vitamin water bottle. So I've yet to even use this. I think it's more of a gimmick than anything else. I could really care less, to be honest. This is not a selling feature. I don't have a 3D printer. I don't even see how scanning something, if you're wanting to 3D print something, you're either doing it because you're prototyping something and need to be very specific and precise with measurements, or you're just wanting to just create little figures or objects, things like that. We're gonna do well, how does this even work? I did this. Now it's wanting to go through the tutorial altogether, I think. Oh, so it won't even let you scan anything else until you actually do a face scan. So that's dumb. Well, that's kind of pointless. Never mind. So again, I've never touched it, so there's that. Since this is running 8.0 Oreo, you do have access and the ability to have themes if you wanted to, but of course you do need to have the Andromeda theme, basically enabler app, which you do have to pay for. You have to use ADB to enable the themes, and you use Substratum, so that's nice if you want to have that. For the battery life, of course, like I mentioned, I also forgot to mention though that I'm using Naptime. Shout out to Franco for providing such a great app to help improve battery life on non-rooted devices. And of course, you do have to also have ADB set up and go through those couple commands that it tells you to do. But overall, I'm very pleased with this Sony XZ1. Still, there's no voice over LTE support. I am using T-Mobile. I've noticed that my data LTE coverage changes from wherever I drive, where I know I usually get LTE on some other devices, and unfortunately it drops down to like HSPA plus, things like that. So I think it's because of the voice over LTE issue and it not getting prioritized on band 12. So that's kind of unfortunate. Hopefully I can maybe get that working, flashing a firmware or something. Stay tuned. I will, if I get that figured out, I will create a guide for sure for you all. Micro SD card slot in here, 64 gigs. I have it a card in there, so it's nice to have that additional storage. 64 gigs internal storage, 4 gigs of RAM, as you would expect. Just overall very nice to hold in your hand. The volume buttons are easy to reach regardless with your thumb or with your index finger, and of course a dedicated power button which you can press and hold to launch the camera, or you can even double press the power button to launch the camera too. So you have all that additional flexibility, whichever comes easiest and natural to you, which is nice. Call qualities has been good, no issues there. You do get the quick charge 3.0 by Qualcomm with a 2700 milliamp hour battery, so at least the recharging battery life throughout the day, you're gonna get at least around 4 hours of screen on time. Now, something I was kind of really debating when I was wanting to purchase this or the XZ1 compact, and that was the screen size. This has a 5.2 inch 1080p IPS LCD display, which also does support HDR. So HDR content on YouTube, on Netflix, Amazon Prime Video. You're going to be able to get the much richer high dynamic range and richer content when you're watching that content, whereas the XZ1 Compact does not have HDR support on its 720p screen. I thought I was going to enjoy HDR more. I thought I was going to take advantage of it, but to be honest, most things that I'm watching on YouTube are unboxings, are just stuff that there's no it doesn't utilize HDR, so no one's producing really HDR content on YouTube nonetheless. If I'm watching any content with Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, I'm watching it on my 4K TV at home, not while I'm out and about, things like that, because I'm either driving or with family. The HDR, it's really a hit or miss if that's something that you're going to utilize. To be honest, yes, it's really great when it uses HDR, but I'll show you real quick. So when it uses HDR, it looks really great. But to be honest, if you told me this had HDR and I was just using it from normal daily usage, I would never have known otherwise. So if that's something important to you, if you watch a lot of Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, services that utilize HDR, then this would be the one that you're going to want to buy. To me, again, it's not something that I find important, to be honest, just because there's just not a lot of that content out right now. Maybe in the future, but who knows. But overall, I've really enjoyed this. It's been my daily driver for the past 2 weeks. As you can see, I'm also using the live wallpaper of the Pixel 2 on there. I'll leave links down in the description where you can download and install those. I might even do a install video if you guys want to see that. Hit that like button. I'll leave all the links where you can purchase this down in the description. Also, if you are curious on wanting to buy this, I say if you're wanting a very pure, close to stock Android experience with a good camera, a nice, even though the design is dated, very premium feeling type finish and put together phone, then this would be one you want to get. Yes, the bezels are large. I'm going to get that comment more than likely on this video, but if you look at the Pixel 2, that also has large bezels and it has a 5-inch screen. So I think you do still get the front-facing speakers, so that's nice to have, and hopefully Sony improves the design on their next flagship. I am using this thin plastic clear case, which is nice just to protect it from scratches. It's not going to be drop protection, but it's better than nothing, to be honest. I'm liking this. Isn't my full review. This is 2 weeks with the Sony XZ1. hopefully I'm going to be able to get some time to do a full review on this. Wanted to share my thoughts with you all. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave them down below and I will do my best to answer them. Hit that subscribe button and like the video, and I will see you all in the next video, guys. Take care.